And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Celi Arias. Celi, thank you for being my guest.
I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Well, thanks. It is going to be it's going to be a great show. We're already having lots of fun. So, Celi, I'm just going to give you a little background on Celi. She's a new mom. She's got a baby, and we had lots of fun about talking about her baby and how babies are sometimes easier to deal with than business, right? And so we are talking a little bit about throwing the baby out with the bathwater because we're going to be diving into marketing and how business owners really struggle with it. And how we need to get back to some basics, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So, Celi, tell me, how many you run a company now, you help business owners. Give us a little bit about your background and how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always tell people I've been in business for over 30 years, and they're like, "What? You started a business when you were a baby?" And I'm like, "Well, kind of. I started my first business when I was 10, and I kind of got hooked on the independence and freedom of doing my own thing and making my own money and being able to do what I wanted with my
Yeah.
money." So I was like that as a kid. In my 20s, I got a second degree in fashion design and I started a clothing line in South America. And I ran that clothing line for 9 years. And I always say it ran me into the ground because I've been there. I have made like every single mistake in all the like key areas of business. I've made the mistakes, right? I've done it. So I then went and got an MBA and learned that you don't really learn about running a business by getting an MBA. So if I can save anybody money, please don't do it. Let me save you time and money. Don't do it. And then I started working for startups, tech startups, VC funded startups. Had a stint in corporate sales and like luxury partnerships and worked my way into operations and became a COO to a few tech startups. So when I was doing that, people start asking you, "Hey, will you take a look at my business? Hey, what do you think of this?" Or "I'm thinking of doing this." And I'd be like, "Oh no, why would you do that?" Right? I would have these reactions to people talking about their projects because I now run several different companies. So I met some people and were like, "You should apply for this head coach position at this super broy company that's
Mhm.
needs a woman and they're like strategy operations based." So I was a head coach for 2 years.
Mhm.
And then I created my own methodology, which we were talking about, which is the getting ahead in business method.
Yeah.
The GAB for short,
Love it.
the GAB for short. Yeah, and that's like 44 years there in a
Wow.
nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell, and that's good. And it's there's so much more we could unpack there. But let's just dive in, and there are so many things you can talk about because of your vast experience and years in business and things. But as we were talking pre-podcast, we were talking about just marketing and this whole idea of market fit and all of that and how important that is, and yet how many business owners just go right over that and they don't think about the importance of it. Unpack for us now what you mean when you talk about market fit and marketing and all that. And let's start there, and then let's dive in to see what kind of help we can bring our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we think about marketing, we jump straight, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, like please jump
I will
in,
do
but
it.
we jump straight ahead into what's the content,
Oh yeah.
right? What am I writing? What am I posting? What ad am I making? What's my ad creative? We
Mhm.
jump straight into spending a lot of time on creative and content and copy, and we try to become copy experts and we
Oh
obsess about
yeah.
our branding. We spend tens and 20 and 30,000 dollars on our websites and our branding and our colors and all the things, right? Because when
Yep,
we
yep.
think about marketing, we think about that. Some people get it confused with sales, which is a different department.
Right.
But what I like to say about marketing, and I teach this ad nauseum to my clients, before you can even think about all of that, you need to have product market fit. Product market fit is actually a part of your marketing department.
Yep.
So, and what I say is, look, all that time and money and energy and stress and worry that you're dumping into your marketing department and it's not working, if you had product market fit, it's almost like you could go into the department. If you had a business, if you had a building for your business, you could
Mhm.
go into in the morning, you could go into your marketing department and turn the light switch on, and the department would flow and the marketing would work. If
Yeah.
you don't have product market fit, it's like walking into a pitch black room, not knowing where the light switch is on, and you're kind of going to the
Yeah.
walls, fumbling like this, when you're like trying to
Yeah.
find a light switch and you can't.
Yes.
That's what we're doing most of the time is we're approaching marketing in the dark
Yeah.
because we don't have product market fit. So what I always teach is like, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of marketing experts out there. Let's talk about, do you have product market fit first?
Yeah. And how do you help people find that? Here's the best example I ever heard about what I think you're talking about
Okay.
is, and I read this, Steve Jobs said to Apple or whomever, he's like, you start with the consumer experience, the customer experience, and you work your way backwards to figure out what you're going to create that they want. He's like, if you
Yeah.
do that, it works so much better than most people do just the opposite and say, I created this thing. Don't
Yep.
you want this thing?
Well,
Am I
let's talk about babies because that's an exactly good point. I create what I want to create, and then I want you, Michael, to love it and buy it. It's like
Yes,
everybody coming over to my house and hanging out with the baby, and they want to bounce the baby. They want to hold it tight. They want to do what they want to do to it. They want to treat him the way that it worked with their babies. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You got to listen to him. He's very auditory. So if you are loud and in his face, he's going to cry. If you bounce him, he's going to cry. Like
right,
listen to him. But everybody comes over and they want, no, no, I got this. I got this. I got this. And they're telling me, like, I got this. No, 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 don't worry. And I'm like, no,
don't know.
it's my baby. You don't got this.
That's right.
You're not listening to him.
Yes.
So literally, yes, I have baby analogies for days now. But it's fascinating to watch this because, of course, my brain, I see this happen and I go, oh my God, it's just like in business where you don't listen.
That's right.
The way that I talk about product market fit is it's like I have an image for it. I'll share it with you later.
Okay.
But I think about it about these like 5 elements that kind of spiral into the target to hit the target. And the elements are the right people. So knowing your people, having then the product that actually answers their problems and
Yeah.
solves their problem, it solves their pain at a price that's relevant to them and relevant to your business
Mm-hmm.
with messaging and positioning that speaks to the person, and then in a business model that can scale. That's product market fit.
Wow.
So yes, it does start how I teach product market fit and how where I think it starts is by actually interviewing your ideal person or who you think your ideal person
Yeah.
is. Because also in that interviewing process, you might realize, well, holy shit, I thought my person's a beginner business person, but the more of them I interview, I realize they have problems I don't enjoy solving. They're
Right.
not my people,
Yes.
right?
That,
So it
yes.
really starts with interviewing your person.
That's good because most business owners don't do just that.
Yes. And why do we not do that? Do you have some theories? I have theories.
Oh, well, it takes way too much time, is one of my theories. I don't know what to ask. I really don't care what they say.
I don't care.
It's my baby anyway.
It's
And
my baby anyway.
yeah.
Well, it's also the like, nobody wants to be told. No one enjoys getting the feedback of
That's
like, hey, don't bounce him. I get that that worked with your kids. That doesn't work with mine. No one
right.
likes being told that they're doing it wrong, right? So
Uh,
when we interview people, when we do take the time, I teach my clients how to do I call these voice of consumer interviews, right? I'm trying to
mhm.
understand the voice of my ideal target audience, my ideal person. I do these in 15 to 20 minutes because I just ask 4 questions. Because I'm like the simple queen, like I'm like the
Yeah.
queen of simplicity. I do not do avatar work. If you guys have done avatar work, throw those sheets away. Okay, please just throw them away.
Amen.
It's like
Yeah.
all this information you do not need. You
Yeah.
need to understand what is the pain of your person.
Yeah.
Like what is really frustrating them, stressing them out, keeps them up at night, getting under their skin, right?
Yeah.
What do they really want? What does their dream life look like? Then you want to ask them, what have you tried to do? What
Yeah.
products have you tried? What have you tried to do to fix that problem? What softwares have you tried? What programs have you tried? What code, right? You want to know what they've already done,
Yeah.
right? And then the fourth question, which is like a bonus round, is if they know you, like if you were able to work with me, Celi, for 1 to 2 hours, what would be the dream outcome of working with me?
Hmm.
That's telling me how they already see me in the world.
Right. I
And
like it.
those are the four questions.
That's it. That's like way simple.
Wait, I'm serious. I'm telling you, I'm a simplicity queen.
Yeah. I love it. I love it because
Business is easier than babies.
that's the title of your book. Business is easier than babies. I love it.
I'm working on a book right now. I should talk to you about that. But my
Yeah,
next book will be Business is Easier Than
I
Babies.
love it. But the other thing is, and we're not going to get on the whole book rift, but you have this whole as your child grows, as your little boy grows up, you're going to be able to use not just baby step, toddlerhood, and raise, how that relates to business, right? And adolescence and teens, and you've got like the next 20 years plotted out already for marketing, and anyway, that's lots of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know where I went with it.
I'm gonna have
Business,
to write. I'm writing this down because I'm like, yes, thank you, sir.
absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
writing that
Business is
down.
easier than babies. I love that, because it is. So the four questions, I love that because what you did is you exposed what I call living in the gap. So the gap is, what's the pain, right? What's the reality? There's the gap there that I'm trying to solve. What is it?
Yeah.
We have to start there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Steve Jobs was talking about. I think that's where lots of people, we look at these big companies and they're like, oh, they're so good. Look at what it's like. Well, they probably did a lot of questioning and a lot of thought and failed a lot of times. And one of the things you bring to the table is you failed a lot of times, girl. You
I've
have
failed
done
a
it
lot of
all.
times.
Right? And
Yeah.
but
I
we
mean,
look at
all the entrepreneurs we look up to, though, they've all failed a lot of times.
totally, totally. We see
So
the successes, but they don't show us many of their failures. Some of them do, which is really helpful to
yeah.
go, yeah, I was an overnight success for, after 28 years of failures.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but we need to hear that because so many people are dangling that shiny object. The other thing in marketing, not only trying to be a good copywriter and all that stuff, is the channels, right? They jump right to the channel. Well, I've got to be on TikTok. I had somebody ask, you on TikTok? I'm like, oh no, I'm not on TikTok. My philosophy is I'm going to dominate one medium until I'm a household name. Then I add one more.
That's
And they're like,
exactly right. That is
thank you.
exactly can we be best friends?
It's so simple, but nobody preaches that out loud.
I had a client, to your point, who's a marketing expert. She goes into larger companies, and she helps get their marketing department back end working and humming so that the marketing team can actually show the ROI to the CEO and the boards, right?
Mhm.
Super, super special. She started blowing up on LinkedIn and getting asked to speak at all of these events and virtual events. And I even was like, girl, that over there. She's like, what are you talking about? I just took your advice from your program. Go all in on one channel.
Yeah.
We determined who my people are, what my product is. We did all the pre-work, like product, pricing, right offer, right messaging, right positioning. And then you called me out on kind of being dispersed everywhere, but not really anywhere.
Yeah.
And she's like, I chose to go all in on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm getting asked to speak at like virtual events and live events that are aligned with and I was like, damn, when one of your students does it better than you, you're like,
That's
ooh,
right.
that
I
feels
know
like a
it.
slap in the face. But that's awesome.
It is. It is awesome because it just proves the fact that it works.
It does work.
And it is countercultural, right? Most of business owners, I call them jellyfish. Jellyfish in the ocean, they just float along wherever the current's going, right? And
Yes.
I tell them, I don't want to be a jellyfish. I want to be a salmon because salmon swim upstream to spawn, right? And
Yeah.
it takes effort and you're going against everybody. But that's where success in business really is. And people don't understand that. They're too scared, I think, and they're listening to the wrong people. They're listening to the circus hawkers out there, whatever you call those guys, those yellers, versus listening to the customer.
Yeah.
So I love your four questions. I assume my audience can just take those four questions and
Yeah.
probably do it on Zoom, right? It's not
I
like you
do.
have to meet somebody.
I do them on Zoom. If you do meet somebody because you happen to have a local business, just what I suggest is you record it. Now, this is really, really important because, again, we don't like hearing feedback, right? No
Mhm.
one likes being told they're bouncing the baby the wrong way. So, because we don't like hearing feedback, what I tell my clients is record it in person or record the Zoom and then turn it into a transcript. Because even the way your brain remembers what they say, it
Mhm.
goes through your filtering system
Yeah.
and you hear what you want to hear and you
Wow.
can put your own words on it.
Mhm.
But if we go back and we look at the transcript, we can say, oh, that's interesting. No, they didn't say that though. They
Right.
actually used these words and they
Yeah.
described their pain with these specific words that you're not using anywhere in your marketing.
Yeah.
Right? So, what I would say is if you're going to do voice of consumer interviews, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, just do yourself a favor, record it, create a transcript of it, then take the answers from the transcript,
Mhm.
not from your memory of what happened on the
Wow.
call.
That's gold, folks, right there. Just stop, rewind about 3 minutes, re-listen to all of that because that one tip
Yeah,
is worth seriously hundreds of thousands of dollars to anybody listening because your audience is going to tell you the words that they are expressing themselves in. And if one person does it, if five people do it, 5,000 people are dealing with it. You use that in your marketing. You don't have to be a great copywriter.
you don't have to be a great copywriter. I am not a great copywriter.
Yeah.
But like I do voice of consumer interviews kind of all the time just to make because also people evolve,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And somebody once was saying, I just feel like I'm spinning. I feel like I'm spinning out of control. I always feel like I'm spinning. And then so on a week later on another sales call, somebody said the same thing. I would never describe the feeling of running a business as spinning. I would never think to use that in my marketing. But when I heard a second person say the same thing, I thought, all right, I need to start paying attention. My people are using words I wouldn't normally use.
Right. And the other thing you can do, I think, you tell me, you tell me if I'm wrong now, right, Sally, is taking those things and maybe before I put it into my marketing and things, I use it maybe in some of my sales calls and go, you know what, I've been talking with people recently and they tell me that they feel like they're spinning in business. Do you get that feeling? Yeah. Is that another way to kind of get some consumer feedback?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally, 1,000%. And then the way I'm going to preempt your next question, which is how do you know if you hit product market fit?
Yes.
Well, when you're on a sales call or you're at a networking or event or you're at a party and you actually describe what you do and what your product is, and the way you describe it, the person goes, ooh, I think I need that.
Yeah.
How much is that? That's when you know you've hit it.
Yeah.
When you're on a sales call with somebody and they're just not convinced, don't take it as a rejection. It's not about you. It just means one, they either really don't have the problem that you solve, so they're not your person, or two, you haven't hit product market fit yet. Because if you have your ideal customer in front of you, you should be able to tell them, oh, so I think that you're feeling this way
Yeah.
and you feel like you don't know how to get to here. And what if I told you I actually have a methodology and a software tool that gets you from 6 to 7 figures
Mm-hmm.
and makes it super, super simple because I'm the queen of simple.
Right.
Right? And if I break down that there's a methodology
Yeah.
and there are 6 key growth systems to a 7 figure business. Do you want to know what they are? Do you want them? Do you want them all in one tool? Right? If you kind of go, okay, I'm in, I'm curious,
Yeah.
then you know you've hit product market fit. If you're in these conversations and the person's like, oh, good for you, that sounds interesting, or cool business, oh, way to go,
Right.
entrepreneurship, whatever, you just don't take it personally. It's
That's right.
just data. And go, oh, thank you so much, Michael. I haven't found my product market fit yet. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah. And many times it's not you, it's that you haven't found the right fit because that's your market right there. That's not your market person, right? And
Yeah.
that's okay, but you can learn from that person to go, okay, what are they saying? Make sure I'm not saying that in my marketing. But to understand so many times when we get that resistance, we here's what we do. We dive in and double down and say, oh, but I got a whiz bang thing and start explaining our thing instead of
I'm trying to
discovering
convince.
where the yes, instead of unpacking and saying, let me understand more of what's going on in your world because we may not be a good fit and that's okay. But I'm really curious. What
Yeah.
are you
Yeah. Totally.
and being okay with no sale. I've learned so much from clients who didn't buy from me because I was curious enough to ask some questions. I'm like, well, that's very interesting. All right. I
Oh,
might
yeah.
have somebody. So,
Yeah, when people who I thought were a great fit have said no to me. Now, this is where you get real comfortable with feedback. This is level 2, guys. This is like orange belt, right? We're going up the
right.
belts. I've gone back to people and said, "Hey, I would love to know why you were a no to working with me, because I thought I was really excited about your business and what you're doing, and I really wanted to help you." And I say, and please, like, don't hold back.
Yeah.
Like, please give me no holds bar
Yeah.
feedback. And one time somebody wrote me an email and it was kind of nasty. Um, but I didn't take it any kind of way. And my team read the email before I did, and they got like upset for me when they read the email, because they're like, "Oh my God, you are not the way this person, you are like so loving and so supportive and so giving. Like, you are not this person that this person seems to be describing. Like, oh, I don't, my assistant was like, I don't even want you to read this email because it's like," and I was like, "No, no, no, this is gold.
Yes.
This is research gold. She's right."
Yeah.
She was triggered by the fact that on our sales call, I never said her name back to her,
Wow.
because I'm such an engineer. I'm such a fixer that when I
Yes.
talk to people and they start telling me about their business, and on a sales call, I don't sell you. I don't try to sell you, 'cause I suck at it, honestly. So
Yep.
I'm just trying to be like, let me see if I can actually figure out. I get into engineer mode.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I forget that also there's a human in front of me who's stressed out and spinning and overwhelmed and burnt
Right.
out and stressed about money and in scarcity and lack. And they hate their previous coach that got them no results. And they're in a lot of feelings. And I also need to like really hold space for them and say their name and hold space for that pain and frustration and stress. But sometimes I can get into real engineer mode and try to
Yes.
fix their problem on the call. And so I was like, no, this is solid, solid feedback. And I wrote her back and I was like, thank you. I'm printing this and putting it on my wall.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. That's the key, is to email them back and say, thank you. I appreciate that, right?
I was like, dude, that took guts. I
Yes.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then going forward, you start mentally saying people's names every once in a while, right? Because we forget that we make decisions emotionally,
Yeah.
and we have to address the emotion, but so many business owners skip that and go right to the logic. And it's like, no, no, no. The logic, there's a place for it.
Yeah.
But if I'm stressed out, if I show up on a call and you can discern, I've had sales calls I just thrown away because the person in my first, I say, Sally, how are you feeling today? And you're like, you know what? I'm really feeling rotten. My baby's over there crying like crazy. I haven't had a good night's sleep, and my internet went out 2 hours ago, and I just got it back in. Well, good. This is not a good time. You're not in a good spot for a sales call. So let's just talk about life, and we'll reschedule this. And people are blown away by that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not in a position where I have to have your business. And I think so many business owners are.
Yeah.
And
It's so important. I definitely, when I have several people who say, so and so told me to call you, or so and so told me I have to talk to you. So and told me you're the best. And when I realize they're not right for my methodology and program, or they're not in the right place for it, and I say, you actually don't need me right now. All you need to do is go do XYZ. They're like, oh my God,
yeah,
thank you so much. I'm
yeah,
like, well, listen, here's another golden nugget for you. The secret to business is make sure you deliver on your promised result.
amen.
So if I'm talking to a person who's not in the right mental space or not in the right revenue space, or that they are not a person that I can get a result, I will not push for the sale, even though I could pull out my sales tools that I've learned. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sell them because my goal isn't to sell you. My goal
Right.
is to make you more money, and my goal is for you to grow your business.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, I'm tarnishing my reputation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your reputation, and really at the end of the day, your integrity is on the line.
Yeah.
And if you yeah, if you cross that line, you won't sleep well at night, and because you're not true to yourself.
God, no. And we've all been sold to. We've all
Oh
been
yeah.
sold stuff that we didn't need.
Yeah.
We've all fell for it. I teach this stuff to
Yes.
not fall for it, but I've fallen for it.
Oh yeah. We
And
all
you
do.
just have like this disgust taste in your mouth for years
Yes,
afterwards. It's I would never want someone to feel that way about
that's right.
me.
That's right. Yeah, our family verse comes out of Proverbs, and it's a good name is more desirable than great riches.
Mm,
And I raised my sons on that, my daughters, and I'm like, understand, it's not saying riches are bad. It's just saying a good name is more desirable than that. And right now, you're carrying my name. Someday, and right now, my teenage girls, they're making their own name for themselves with babysitting and things.
mm-hmm.
And
It
it's
was
like
my first business.
your name is very important. What do people think of you when they say Celi Arias? What comes to their mind? That's your name. And you've worked really hard to create a great name, Sally. So you and I could talk for hours, girl. This is,
Totally. Where do you
uh,
live? I'm coming over.
I am in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky area.
The front door. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky.
Did you really?
Yes. That's why we like each
That
other.
is so cool. We're going to talk some more.
Cool,
This
honey.
is so much fun. Yeah. So, all right. So, I mean, obviously, Sally, you got just information oozing out. You've got a whole program of getting ahead in business. You got so much that we can't even talk about right now. Where does somebody go in my audience who's listening? How do they find you? How do they get into your orbit and start understanding more about you? What do you offer them? Are they a good client? How do they even start moving down that pathway to you?
If you really want to talk to me directly, it's me on all my social media channels. So if you look up Celi Grows Business on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, it's CELI Grows Business. You'll find me there. And if you want to check out my website and my programs, it's called Grown Ass Business, which is easy and fun to remember. So there you go.
Awesome. I will grab those. I'll have those in the show notes so you can reach out to Celi Arias. It's been a phenomenal, fun conversation. And thanks for being my guest. Thanks for doing what you do and for showing up and really helping business owners and entrepreneurs really get it with that market fit. It's so important to get things right, but there's so much more to it. So if you're looking to really grow your business, seriously, you need to connect with Sally and her team. Just reach out, follow her, and have a conversation and see what she might be able to do for you. So, Sally,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.